Hi folks, how you doing? Very interesting game for chess fans out there. As early as in the second game of the World Championship rematch between Anand and Carlsen in Sochi 2014, we already have a decisive result. The game was overall very beautiful and very entertaining, quite instructive in my opinion. But the way it finished, it was really ugly. It was defined by a horrible blunder. I'm not going to reveal yet who was the player to go badly there, so stay tuned. I think the game was pretty instructive and very entertaining. Today we had Magnus Carlsen with white pieces, the defending champion, and the contender from India, Viswanathan Anand, black pieces. Let's go see what happened there. e4, e5, no major surprise there. Knight f3, knight c6, and against the Spanish, guess what? Anand rises the Berlin Wall on the board the same day it fell down in Germany 25 years ago, so quite interesting. Apart from that historical reminiscence, probably nothing to do with chess. Well, it isn't a very big surprise. The Berlin is probably the most solid opening against 1e4 at the top level, so not a surprise Anand uses it. And not a big surprise either that Carlsen plays d3 for d3, the main anti-Berlin. Was to be expected by Magnus, who likes keeping pieces on the board, not exchanging queens and going for that infamous endgame. Bishop c5, and here Carlsen castled. As far as I have read, this is a slight surprise in term of move orders, as white usually is supposed to be playing c3 and knight bd2 here first, but okay, that's just theoretical nuances going into more well-known paths. I'm not aware of that, so I think it's important to get to the middle game, which is the important part of the game when you're analyzing a game by Magnus Carlsen. Magnus just castles, d6, rook e1, black castles as well. Carlsen exchanges on c6 and plays h3. Not sure if this is very well theoretically very well known, or if this is a novelty or something, but I think somehow it's a common position. In a 4d3 anti-Berlin, white just develops pieces, stops bishop g4 or knight g4 from happening, and well, once again, what's a position? That's what Magnus Carlsen usually wants out of the opening, not a straight victory, of course. Rook e8 was played, and knight bd2, and the knight usually goes there, having lots of ideas, which could be going to c4, as we're gonna see in the game, or also the knight going to f1 to be recycled through f3 or g3 is a very typical Spanish idea, Ruy Lopez idea. Both players, by the way, were playing reasonably quickly at this point, so you can expect both of them having done the research. At least their teams have done their jobs. Knight d7 was played here, an interesting maneuver by Viswanathan. He wants to relocate the knight probably through f8 to e6, from where it could be guarding the important d4 and f4 squares, which by the way seem to be the two most probable pawn breaks that white could be looking for in the future. So knight d7 is quite a nice, interesting positional idea, very sound and safe idea to go to f8 and relocate through e6. Carlsen plays knight c4, having among other ideas the possibility of going to a5, putting some pressure on this weak undefended pawn on c6. There's a couple of ways black can handle with this. For instance, Anand could have gone for the natural knight f8 now that you have played knight d7, and if knight a5, then bishop or queen could go to d7, defending c6 without big problems, I think. But instead Anand goes bishop b6, stopping that idea, and I think, as correctly Peter Svidler was pointing out, this move probably he isn't planning to take on e3 if a bishop or something goes there, because he wouldn't be wasting a move to go backward and then take. So he goes there just protecting the a5 square, and here Carlsen plays a4 with a concrete and basic idea of trapping the bishop, of attacking there, and trying to molest black, forcing him to make a decision and give him the opportunity to go badly, to go make a mistake. Well, among other ideas, black had this way of stopping that radically, playing a5 himself and stopping that pawn from advancing anymore. it has its pros and cons, and well, Carlsen here decides just to release the tension there, just takes on b6, pawn takes, deprives black from the bishop pair, by the way, and plays d4, arguing that he has a couple of strong pawns in the center. And well, objectively speaking, of course, black is doing very well. I mean, if you're asked to choose a position against Magnus Carlsen, as Swidler was pointing out, with black pieces, you wouldn't argue against this one, because position is absolutely fine out from the opening for black. But this doesn't mean the game is over. The game has just begun for Magnus Carlsen as the middle game goes on. And this d4 is interesting. He tries to get the central control and makes simple moves. Queen development move here, queen to c7, interesting, giving extra protection to e5, protecting the problem, maybe sometimes weak c6 pawn. Here there was the possibility of playing c5, which was suggested by Sopigo Gurimashvili and Peter Swidler during the live stream, with some possibilities if d5. Peter was suggesting knight back and try to play f5, something like that, or if d takes, then taking with the knight, and e4 may become a weakness someday with bishop b7, maybe, who knows. These were some possibilities. Well, instead, as we saw, queen c7 was played, and rook a3, a really nice idea. I wasn't expecting this move. Nice rook lift, developing the rook right from a1 to a3, and now this rook is quite an important piece, as it could go sidewise throughout all the board, the third rank, and be joining any possible attack on the king side, or go to the central files to e3 or d3, try to create central pressure. Certainly an interesting move, and here we start recognizing a pattern. I mean, at least me, I've been seeing lately in the Petrosian Memorial games. Whenever you have a king which is kind of abandoned here, not really protected with his pieces, you can start thinking about a kingside attack, mobilizing your pieces, and certainly this rook looks like it could go to g3 and have something going on there. Knight f8, logical, as the knight went to d7 to be relocated through f8, probably to e6. Now Carlsen exchanges on e5, and he has hands free to start what we're gonna see is going to be probably the most interesting part of the game. He plays knight h4 and saying, well, I want to attack on the king side. He releases tension in the center, takes on e5, so that he doesn't have to calculate on each move what if black takes on d4 or something. He just plays knight h4. His general ideas are to go, of course, with the rook to g3. Sometimes the knight probably will go to h5. The queen has a light square diagonal here, a path to the king side, and well, who knows what will happen there. Black probably should be holding, but you have to try, you have to get something going, take some initiative. So very nice decision by Magnus Carlsen. After thinking for a while here, Anand understood very correctly that his counter chances are in the center, and he has to force this queen to make a decision already, and he's going to control the d file this way, rook to d8. There was another possibility here. If bishop e6, well, rook g3 could be played, and this was being discussed heavily during live stream by Peter Swidler, whose commentary I was watching, of course. Now, if knight g6, queen f3 would keep the possibility of moving the knight and push the h pawn, and instead maybe queen h5 wasn't that accurate because you're losing a tempo, and this way, playing first queen f3, you give yourself the chance to play the h pawn first, but that's another story. Rook d8 was played instead of bishop e6, and the queen decides to go to h5. Similarly, if the queen goes to f3, of course now the rook is useless to go to g3, not able. So queen h5 seems much more precise. Anand plays f6, defending g5 square, for instance, and also giving his queen lots of defensive resources here. It can go to f7, seeking an exchange of queens here. Knight f5 was played, and bishop went to e6 here. By the way, in the Twitter I saw later in the game, Hikaru Nakamura from the United States was criticizing this move. He said knight e6 was to be played here. Probably he's right. He said this is the move. The knight belongs to that square in this exchange. Ruy Lopez positions. Well, bishop e6 was played, and rook to g3. Of course, there is some attack going on the king side, and definitely black must be careful here. You just cannot make any legal move and hope to escape this, because there are lots of pieces crowding your king around, and it could be dangerous. Anand plays knight g6, keeping everything together, keeping everything tight, and it seems, well, Carlsen doesn't have any serious tactical things going on right now, but as we're going to see in a couple of moves, he's going to get more of this attack than he was certainly than he was looking for on the king side. He's going to get not only a king side pure mating attack, but a positional edge out of this attack. He plays h4, the queen will step away, and the pawn could be going forwards. Bishop took here on f5, he takes, forcing the knight to go f5, and there we go. This is what I was meaning. Bishop took, e took, and we get this position with rooks and queens on the board. No more checkmating attacks with so far, but Carlsen got really a nice position out of these attacking chances. He gets a positional edge. He has made a couple of he's going to make a couple of black pawns really weak, namely f5, f4 is kind of weak right now. He goes with the rook, to c3, putting pressure on the c file, on c6, kind of forcing more or less to play c5 sooner or later. Anand plays it right away, and this is what Carlsen gets out of it. Two very weak pawns for blacks. f4 and b6 will be needing care immediately and constantly. A nice outpost for his rooks on e6. This pawn is rather strong than weak, providing this e6 square. And this king is still weak. I mean, back rank issues always will be there. His queen is looking to e8, this rook as well. He only needs to relocate to a better place, this c3 rook, which already has done its job, and the position will be very complicated for Anand, as in fact it's going to be, as we're going to see in the game. So quite interesting how Carlsen reached these very nice positions for him. I mean, positional edge, sound and comfortable advantage, and black doesn't seem to have made that many mistakes, maybe a couple of slight inaccuracies, but this is how Carlsen plays, grinding and putting pressure, posing concrete problems, and forcing his opponents to make positional mistakes, to concede positional things, which he is not going to forgive. Rook e6 immediately was played here. Now rook a b8, trying to take care of b6. This is a huge problem for black right now, the b6 weak pawn. And now rook c4, very simply, Carlsen is going to go with the c rook to e4, completely dominate the e file, and well, the position is going to be very tough for Anand to get something out of it, as we're gonna see. Queen to d7, well, with a decent idea of at least black is controlling the d file and tries to exchange queens here, which probably would be some relief for him, but Carlsen says no way. King to h2, no more checks, and what you gonna do now? Now Anand was falling into some time trouble here already. We've played 25 moves so far, and he already had some slight time pressure. He went rook to f8, although the computer doesn't like this move. In some tactical lines, f7 was needed to be guarded from white queen's aggression. Rook c4, and just look at the take a look at the positions, and well, there are certainly some differences. Black's king is not safe, the white king is much safer, of course. Black has a couple of strong weaknesses on f4 and b6, and apart from that, compare the pair of rooks of white here, completely controlling the e file, very aggressive mode, and black rooks are really passive, defending b6 in this case, f7 in this other case. Really tough position to have, especially against someone like Magnus Carlsen. I wouldn't like to be in Anand's shoes in this game, in this position. Really tough game. Rook to b7 was played, and now queen to e2, simple moves. In a very tough situation here, Anand finds a nice tactical defensive resource, b5, trying to open up the b file and solving at least one of his problems, the b6 weakness, which, well, kudos to him because he found a nice resource here. After thinking for a while, Carlsen played b3. There were some options of taking, of course, taking on f4 was an option maybe, but this is what probably Anand's idea was, reducing the number of pawns and activating the rook, which will certainly now will be liking to go to b4, for instance, opening the file for the b7 rook. But okay, Carlsen just plays b3. B takes a4 was played. Once again, Svidler was discussing here lots of possibilities with c4, complicated stuff there. But, well, simply b takes, and, well, some slight relief, I guess, for Anand, at least psychologically, I guess, because no more weakness on b6. He traded that ugly pawn and goes with the rook to b4. But now rook e7. Where is this queen going to? Well, to d6, at least guarding the pawn on f4, and of course there is a threat, mild threat, yes, to win the queen by f3 discovered check. So the queen must move and do something about that. The queen went to f3 here. Note that going to g4 would fall into a nice tactical trap, which was pointed out by Peter Svidler. Here f3 discovered check, and if g3, which is not a good move, but just to illustrate, queen takes e7 was a nice possibility here, winning the game in fact, because if rook takes, now the b4 rook is free to take the queen on g4. Note the nice tactics there. And okay, after queen d6, as we saw, queen f3 was played, a much safer and better possibility. Here a pair of rooks were exchanged on e4, queen takes on e4. Position is still tough for black. White rook and queen are much more active. Interesting to note that they have almost the same material as they had yesterday, a pair of rooks and queens on the board, and it is Carlsen again putting pressure against the opponent's king, Anand's king, and having the initiative here. f3 check was played. Another interesting line I wanted to point out here, queen d4 would be a huge blunder here, thanks to beautiful tactical idea, very nice. I mean, this needed to be shown. Queen e6 check, of course this was pointed out once again by the commentators on the live stream, not myself. King to h8, and very nice move here, this is precious. Queen to f7 is leading to checkmate no matter what black does. Of course g7, taking g7 right away is checkmate in one move, so black must try to do something, but it's no way he does something, because rook takes f7 of course is leading to checkmate on back rank. And if rook to g8, still rook to e8, and black is still getting checkmated because his king is too far on the corner on the back rank. So this was a very beautiful idea in my opinion. Nice line to be shown. But okay, f3 check, discovered check was played. g3, and we're reaching the climax of this game, the most important moment of this game. Most probably of this match, of the whole World Championship match, because Anand here was really low on time, but not very characteristically, he blunders heavily, horribly in time trouble here. I mean, very sad to see Vishy falling this badly this early. He plays h5, and after queen b7, immediate resignation followed here. I mean, how sad is that? Because g7 cannot be controlled, defended in any single way, and this king is really feeling miserable, wanted to commit a suicide already. Well, very badly it went for Viswanathan in this second game. I mean, he had to defend a tough position for hours, and finally he blundered heavily. A sad day for Indian fans, and this reminds me of the last year's World Championship match, with the difference that this time the nightmare for Anand starts even earlier. I see ghosts from the past for Viswanathan, and I'm afraid this could be already done. Thanks for watching.